What's up, guys? Sub-Zero here, back for another VOD review. Today, doing a VOD review of who might be the next GOAT of North America. This is a Sub-Zero VOD review because this guy is the handsomest, bestest at TFT bald fellow I've ever seen. And he also got some pretty cool emblems here from this Emblem Ensemble game. I really just want to do a game on this Eldritch reroll comp that has been cropping up recently. Also, here's this clip of Wasian yapping about TFT, which whatever, don't worry about. But this is a line that I've been seeing a lot of people in my own games get a spot for. I haven't had a spot for it in forever, and I finally got the spot for it, and I got to play it, and it was really good. So let's hop into it. We will yap a little bit further once we actually get to the comp itself. But for now, we have a bit of a Blossom opener, almost 3 Blossom, which I've talked a million times about. Blossom, very, very good opener-wise here. Don't really need more items. We have the 3 emblems and we have all these components, so we don't really need replication. And I see Portable Forge here and I say, wait a second, we might be able to cook something up really, really nice with the old P Forge here in this spot. So we are gonna pick it up here, see Loons, Dawncore, Aegis of Dusk, and Light Shield Crest. And we're gonna take Dawncore in this position. Why? Why are we gonna go Dawncore here? Because it is a fantastic artifact on Kha'zix. If you guys haven't played around Kha'zix yet, he jumps all around the board, does a bunch of damage, especially when people are isolated. He gets these like repeat casts off a lot of times, and he's a fantastic unit to play with this Blackthorn board because he has access to a lot of the traits via his evolutions that are in the Blackthorn. So he can get Spellweaver, he can get Ravager, he can get Executioner. The only one that he doesn't have access to in his traits, in Blackthorn is Rapid Fire. However, we have a Rapid Fire emblem, so this is kind of like the perfect spot to play Kha'zix. And we have the Dawncore, which is a great artifact on him because he refunds mana. When he hits a isolated target, he refunds 10 mana. And Dawncore can get you down, boop, 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 down to 10 mana to the point where he's just basically infinite casting. He's just cast on an isolated target, jump, cast on an isolated target, jump, cast on an isolated target, jump. So that is the idea here. I do actually want to Lost Streak in this spot here. I slammed a few items and didn't slam in the first round because I was thinking like, I actually would really like to Lost Streak in this position because there is a decent chance that there's going to be a Kha'zix on Carousel, and if I can pick that up, my game is going to be a lot easier to play. So that is the dream in this spot, is Lost Streak into Carousel here. I did have Coven in. I opted to just play 3 Blossom here. Lowest of keys thinking this back, I probably should have played 3 Coven for at least another round just to get like the 40 stat cash out and then just be done with that, because that's at least a little bit of econ. So probably should have gone for that, but I'm too much of a Blossom enjoyer, so I end up slamming going for this board here. Item wise here, Kha'zix really likes Hodge as his healing item ideally, but BT is going to work just fine as well. And then aside from that, we're done. So Eldritch, it's going to be Eldritch Emblem, it's our Blackthorn, sorry, they changed the name, Blackthorn Emblem, the Dawncore, and then it's also going to be the BT. We just want some kind of healing on him. So that is the game plan here. I did really want to, find a Kha'zix on Carousel, but there was not one. So I have to just take the cloak here with the idea that I can go for gargoyles onto my Malphite down the line. That is going to be the main carry on this board. So that is the dream, and that is what we are going to play for. And aside from that, we are going to continue to, well, think about continuing to Lost Streak in this spot. What I will say is that, like, I didn't get the Kha'zix on Carousel, so now there's not really that much incentive for me to keep the Lost Streak up. So I'm kind of like, whatever. I mean, I'd rather just kill some units if possible, slam the Morello so I can guarantee my heal cut, and then the Gargoyle for our front line. And I'm just like, yeah, if I start winning from here, it's totally chill. Also, low-key, this Dawncore Camille is kind of a beast. You can just see cast, get a shield, cast, get a shield, cast, get a shield. Like, she's actually not bad because she's so low mana herself. So I actually low-key liked this setup, but it's a little wonky. We do get coin flip here, and I say, okay, sure, let's get some extra gold here, though I do miss on the coins, which is unfortunate. But I also find a Rengar here, and I said, you know what? I've played around this Rengar unit so much in the early game these days. Like, this Rengar unit's an actual monster in the early game. If you get 3 items onto him, he just does infinite infinity damage, and also he can farm you gold. Literally, Rengar 1, once you get to those 8 takedowns, is going to be plus 2 gold. And, you know, if you can get him to Rengar 2, you get an insane amount of gold. So why not play around this Rengar guy, get a bunch of free econ on our way to playing around our Kha'Zix, and he also fits really neatly onto the board. I mean, there's no reason that we have to, you know, cut certain units that we would play for Kha'Zix when we can just play Rengar, and it's also like he's the rival to the Unrivaled. So there's no downside. There's no downside to playing the Rengar. Opt to sell and make 40 here. I wanted to hold on to those rapid fires for Rengar, but making 40 is the most important, and holding on to these other guys is very important. Grow Up's actually pretty good here as well. Gets me up to level 5, and also gives me the ability now to field this guy to get Blackthorn in, and is going to make it easier for me to push 6, and eventually 7 as well. Get tier, which is like kind of funny. I'm like, you know what? We can just slam these as a blue buff. It's like fine. It's a good way to get the Morello going. These will eventually move over to Azir, which it's like, is blue buff BIS Azir? No, but it's an item. It'll get him casting, get him spreading Morello, and once again, we're done with our Kha'Zix items, so am I really that worried about my itemization this game? No, I'm quite happy about it. Just need to get to some tank items down the line. Going into 3-2 Augment, would normally be thinking like I want some kind of econ to guarantee that I can hit my 3-cost 3 stars, but we get probably, I think guaranteedly, the best Augment in this spot, which is Unrivaled. You can now field Rengar and Kha'Zix on your board, and they gain bonuses when the other one casts. This is so disgusting, not only for the fact that it gives me a second copy of my Rengar, so now I'm one off of having Rengar 2, who's going to print more. Also gives me the first copy of my Kha'Zix, so I can start stacking him up, and also is just good. Play Rengar and Kha'Zix on your board, especially with Eldritch, you get an insane amount of value. Blackthorn, sorry. Eventually, at some point in the set, I'll remember that it's called Blackthorn instead of Eldritch, but for now, it's Eldritch every once in a while. But yeah, I mean, now my board is looking fine. It's still not looking amazing, I would say, because our front line is a Yorick one, so not like I'm like jumping for joy with this board. And I do need to find when I can spike. The next big spike would be Rengar 2, so I'm really hoping that I can pick up a Rengar 2 relatively soon, and also just get in some more potentially Eldritch units, get out of this Blossom board, just because like this Blossom board is not going to do everything in the mid game. So yeah, I really am just trying to win in the spot here, and we do actually find a much better Blossom, put it in the set, and this makes me feel a lot better. I'm trying to figure out where the Blackthorn Emblem goes, but I'm like, honestly, we can just put on the Kha'Zix because we know it's going to go there. And we do actually, we reforge the Coven because I'm like, I know I don't need Coven this game, and I find Juggernaut, which actually fits onto the board perfectly here. So I'm like, okay, great, just throw this here and we'll have a pretty good go of it. So yeah, Rengar doing good work. The set is a huge pickup because now I actually have some frontline for this Rengar and this Kha'Zix here. So this puts me into a good spot, and they're both getting a ton of takedowns. So every fight win, super impactful at this stage of the game. Items wise here, we can take another tank item down the line. There is also a Malphite on Carousel, which I think about for a second, and then I'm like, I must take this Malphite here. This is going to be one of the harder units to get to 6 Blackthorn. You just need all the Blackthorn units. There is no like crazy, you know, you don't need to find like Blackthorn on like the like Lux or anything weird like that. You just find it super easily by playing this setup. So that is, once you find all the Blackthorn units, feel really good. As far as Kha'Zix upgrade go, I think the crit one is like one of the most important ones to pick up, so we do immediately take this one here. I think my general direction is Executioner, then Ravager, then Spellweaver, and then eventually Rapid Fire if you're done. I really just think you must pick Executioner as one of the first 2, because if you don't get to it by then, you end up in the world where your Kha'Zix never has spell crit, and then he just doesn't do that much damage. So taking it first is great. I've had situations before where I haven't hit the Azir yet, and so I've taken something else first, but you definitely want to be picking this up. But yeah, I mean, we rotate into some other strong boards here. I will say for now, I'm not actually doing the positioning that I really like to do with Kha'Zix, where you split the board. And actually, as I got further into this game, I found an even better positioning to go for. So just you wait for some crazy Kha'Zix positioning tech that the more that I think about it, I think just is absolutely optimal for this line. So we'll get to it when we get there. We do pick up the Rengar 2, which is fantastic here. You can also see I'm rolling every round here to try to get these upgraded charms off of Blossom, because there's no reason not to. There's a lot of value in just using, especially free rolls, to get there. Also, sorry, the videos. Give me one sec. Okay, all I did is refresh the page. Hopefully this, I don't know. Twitch has been stuttering a lot for me recently, and I don't know why. Okay, also low-key, I'm realizing that like maybe I was just dropping frames in this video, in which case, I mean, that happens every once in a while. I get a few frames dropped, so maybe that's what happened there, but looks like it's all fixed for now. Rengar doing a lot of work. Kha'Zix doing a lot of work, and the spot's coming together, I will say. We're also not pushing level at this point because we want to make sure that we are going to level next stage, just right here so that we can get into our 6 Blackthorn board, play our strongest board here, and not worry too much about anything else besides that. So yep, item's going to go up to the Malphite here, and now at this point, we are just going to roll. We are just going to roll on 7 for all of our 3 stars, the Rengar, the Kha'Zix, and you can even go for the Azir 3 in this spot here. We do also get really, really nicely our upgraded Blossom Charm, even though we pivoted our board. We had Blossom in the last combat, so we get the upgraded Gold Charm, which is really nice, and we are now going to move the Dawn Core over to the Kha'Zix. Figuring out items here, we end up slamming Titans onto the Rengar. I like this item a lot onto him. This also leaves Glove open for the ideal, which is going to be we're going to make Hodge on Kha'Zix and then move that BT up to Rengar. So that is the dream in this spot here, and it's going pretty well. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with the spot. Last augment here, I think these all suck, honestly, in my spot, so I'm just going to roll, and I find Big Grab Bag, and I'm like, okay, this gets us to items. I'm pretty happy with this. Like we talked about, usually I would go Ravager here, but I actually really like Rapid Fire here because it's also going to buff up the Rengar, so that is the dream in this spot here, and it's the reality in this position. I'm trying to figure out kind of like what I want to build in this spot here. Reforge one component, and I'm like, okay, I could make a lot of different stuff here. I could go for another Reforge, but honestly, I'm just going to make Edge of Night and GS here because these are 2 good slams that I can make and get us to items on everybody, and getting items on everybody is good. Even leaves Glove open for either a TG down the line or a Steadfast Heart onto my my Malphite. So it's just a good itemization setup in general. Just good item kind of efficiency. We get items down on everybody, which is very, very good. Very, very important. Even leaves the Glove open for Hodge if I want to move the item up. You can see that the Edge of Night I slammed onto my Rengar did disappear. This is a bug that exists on PvE right now where sometimes your items will disappear. I guess it's because I slammed it during planning phase, but it's interesting that this disappeared, but the GS didn't. But be careful slamming items during planning phase and stuff like that. The items can, or, while you're like spawning into another board, items can disappear, which I really hope they get that bug fixed because it's very, very annoying. Oh, the other thing, housekeeping wise, I didn't even think about talking about is that you can see I'm clicking all of my shops because they have said that they're going to remove hotkeys to roll. I'm going to talk about this more. Me and Kai, if you guys don't know, have a podcast called Teamfight Takes. I'll try to remember to put the link in the description down below. But we're going to be talking about this when we record tomorrow because it's the talk of the town. I have some kind of complicated thoughts on it. Originally, I was kind of annoyed because I put all this time into learning the hotkeys and stuff. The more that I think about it, I do think I don't really want TFT to end up being like a mechanics game. I play TFT because it's like a low APM style strategy game, and so like I think any stuff that pushes TFT more towards becoming a mechanics game is actually probably for the worse down the line. But it is frustrating for somebody who spent this time like learning these hotkeys, and then they're like, JK, we're taking them out of the game. But hey, here is what I think is kind of like my Picasso, my Mona Lisa. Picasso's the guy. The painting would be Mona Lisa. Yeah. Who painted Da Vinci? Da Vinci? Anyway, this is my Mona Lisa by whoever it might be by. This positioning here, where I bring everybody back. Now, why am I doing this? Why am I bringing all these units as back as far as possible? And why do I even have some units on the same lateral line as the Kha'Zix? Well, the idea is Kha'Zix, the reason why you put some units on the right, some units on the left is because you want to split up their front line and allow Kha'Zix to get as much isolation as possible. Because Kha'Zix, when he gets the isolation, he does extra damage, he gives himself the mana back, he goes absolutely crazy. So that's the reason why to split them at all. But why to bring them back? Well, for a similar reason as you want to split them, is because if you give these units more room to walk up here, you can see they fan out a little bit more. There's more distance between all these units if they have extra time to walk up. And so you can get more isolation damage on Kha'Zix. And there is actually another reason, which we're going to talk about later, and because I just want to wait for you guys to see this because of how crazy it is, why you want to pull enemy front lines forward in positions like this. So you'll see, but the more I think about it, the more that I think like this is just the sauce. Bring everybody back to the 4th and 3rd rows, pull their front line out as much as possible, and then you can start to go absolutely crazy with your positioning. So I don't end up getting the Hand of Justice here, which is kind of annoying. I actually forget what I think I reforge here, and then I do find the Hodge, yeah, which is really, really nice. And this also allows me to make Gargoyle, which is perfect. So yeah, we can just go Hodge here, move the BT over to the Rengar, and then the Gargoyle onto the Malphite. And I'm like, pretty good. It's not like... It's a little weird to have the Gargoyle in the Malphite when he's not like solo frontlining, but he's still taking a lot of aggro from the left side here. But yeah, this is the setup. You can see Kha'Zix doing a pretty good job of jumping into backline, but we do really need the Kha'Zix 3 at this point to really clutch out the board. Rengar is doing his darndest though to beat this board, but Ashe just clears him sadly. So we lose that fight and start to lose a little bit of HP. I actually start to get like a little like, not worried, but a teeny tiny bit worried. I'm like, can I like, you know, hit my board here? I do though end up hitting the board this round, which is fantastic. And now I can level, get the Yo Rick back onto the board. So I get Summoner and I also get the Juggernaut in for my Malphite. I do have to spread my positioning very weirdly here for this charm. So that's just the way that the world works, I guess. I mean, it's actually like fine, not the end of the world. And they also fight a pretty weak board here, so we end up just clearing them. So totally fine, but a little bit awkward. I do also opt to level here instead of rolling for the Azir 3 because the Azir, while he's nice, he's not the end-all be-all, right? I'll be okay if I don't find the Azir 3, and I can probably find him on 8. And I think this level is more important. Getting 2 Summoner in is also going to benefit Azir. It's also going to benefit, you know, just my front line on my board by getting this Juggernaut in. So that's the idea. Once again, this round, I can't actually do the full backline positioning because I have these dummies that I got off the Wisp. So I am just going to move those guys up again and then just do the part the seas positioning here. And Kha'Zix is absolutely a beast at this point. You can see with the Dawn Core, just especially when he hits an isolated target, just boom, jumps immediately afterwards and just jumping everywhere, just killing the entire board, which is so sick to see. It's also just the amount of stats that you get off 6 Blackthorn is insane. It's just nuts what you get there. Item wise, I end up going for LW here just because I'm like, I need Armor Shred. I need a Mars Shred more because Kha'Zix is a monster and we also have the duo carry in the Azir. I also don't really have somebody good to hold on to this LW, so if you told me I was supposed to take something better, then I would probably agree with you. We do get this this ability power thingy bag, which just gives us 24 AP onto our Kha'Zix, which I love taking this one so much in general. And we are going to move back our positioning like this. Perhaps this is the fight where it actually ends up going crazy. I guess we will see. We kill a few frontliners here. Kha'Zix jumps into the back line. Nah, this isn't the fight where we go absolutely crazy. Because I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it when we get to the fight. But there was like one fight where I realized I was like, wait, this position's like even better than I thought it was because of, once again, you'll see. Gonna continue to just roll here every round for a charm. At this point in the game, you need or Wisp. If I ever say charm, by the way, I mean Wisp. Same thing with Blackthorn and Eldritch. But we need a charm, a Wisp every single round, so we are going to be rolling for those. I think this might be the fight where Kha'Zix just kind of goes genius mode. Yeah, look at this. So here is the idea, and I don't believe that this is a bug, but I mean, there's a bug on my board. It's called Kha'Zix. But check this out. We've pulled their front line down a little bit here. Kha'Zix jumps onto this Ashe here and does a ton of damage to her, right? He hits her here and is going to kill her here, would not kill her normally, because the way that Kha'Zix positioning works, let me pull up the text for you. All right, so what this Kha'Zix unit says is leap to the farthest enemy within 3 hexes, and then, you know, he does if they have no adjacent allies, deal some damage and get the mana. So this is the key. He's furthest enemy within 3 hexes. Now, what's really cool with the positioning that we've done here is we've pulled this front line down a little tiny bit here. I mean, this is actually like in their front line here, but the further you can pull front line down, the better, because what you want to do is actually make it so that there is no unit that is within 3 hexes of Kha'Zix here, because then what happens is he says, well, what's the furthest unit within 3 hexes? There isn't actually another unit, so I'm just going to stay here in place and kill this unit, which is exactly what Kha'Zix does. And so you can see him just jumping around the back line, and then this is another perfect example, right? He jumps to this Ahri here. There's no unit within 3 hexes here. The Lily has walked too far up. The rest of the front line has walked too far up. So what does he do? If this Lilia was back another hex here, he would jump to the Lilia and then he would get stuck here and like maybe jump around a front line. It'd be really awkward. Instead, because she gets pulled down here, he sits on the back line and just continues to delete everybody. So this is the third reasoning to go for this positioning, is that you want to pull their front line down as much as possible so that when Kha'Zix gets to back line, he can just absolutely stick on them and just never jump back to front line. Because this is what happens with Kha'Zix a lot. If you played around this guy, and also I by force of habit roll here because I'm trolling and waste a roll because we're trying to roll for Wisp in the spot. But this is exactly what you want to do with Kha'Zix is pull the front line down, get him stuck there because yeah, like normally what he does is he dashes, he jumps to backline and then he jumps back to front line and then he jumps to front line and then he jumps back to backline and then he goes back and forth, and it's like kind of annoying. It really is not what you would prefer. You would prefer him to stick on backline, and this is the exact positioning that allows you to do it, especially along with the Rengar deleting some of the frontliners that the Kha'Zix is on. It just does a lot of work here. So here's another example. He jumps straight to backline here. Now the front line is a little bit too far forward, so he jumps back there, but you can see had the front line been a little bit further forward, he would have just deleted backline and absolutely stayed on there. So it's a really cool little tech. Almost reminds me of like the Rakan, what was it, like Rakan Katarina stuff, where you would like backline your entire board and try to pull them out. This actually happens a lot of times with assassins, and I mean, makes a lot of sense in this position here with the Kha'Zix. So yeah. Just a few more fights to go. You can see we're on a 5 streak here. Our board is just shredding people. This guy's board actually, I think, looked pretty decent here with this kind of like Giga Morgana. And yeah, the Kha'Zix and Rengar, they're trying to, they're having to work a little bit to chew through everybody, but still they get through, and we just have this Giga win streak in this spot. We also do have our next level on bench already in the Zyra here. Pretty happy with this booster shot. Not really amazing here. It might just end up 2-starring. I'm hoping that it 2-stars the Zyra here, though it might just hit both of my 1 costs, which would be pretty bad, honestly. But yeah, I'm really just trying to make sure Malphite is same side as the scary stuff here. But once again, boom, Kha'Zix just straight to backline, deletes, and then just stays there, just stays on the entire backline and deletes everybody. So just beautiful fight again from the Kha'Zix. And I mean, it's just light work. We do have the Rod open, so we can make Blossom Emblem, but I'm like, okay, what are we doing with like a Blossom Emblem? I mean, low key, actually, maybe I should have taken Blossom Emblem and then made it and then cut Zyra and then played Blossom on this board. Low key, that's actually not a bad idea. I do get one of the best charms in the entire game that just gives you 2 Wisps for free, and so I do pick this up and get double combat Wisp, which is just disgusting. I do actually swap Rengar to the wrong side at the last moment because I'm trying to use my old hotkeys for when I was going to be rolling a lot, but I mean, now I got to change my hotkeys back, which is annoying, but hey, it's all good. I mean, it's going to be easier to relearn hotkeys than it was to learn the other ones in the first place, but it's all good. Continue to roll down, just try to find something to play here. Just some kind of good Wisp in the spot, and I get this one, which clones my Kha'Zix, and I have 2 Kha'Zixes and a Rengar on the board, which is just disgusting here. So one more fight, as long as I do not troll it, try to get the Malphite over there in front of the Ahri and just kind of the scary stuff, the Alune as well. The Kha'Zix and Rengar are both kind of like jumping around backline. It looks scary for a second, and then we just kill everybody, and it is light work for us. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out my Twitch and my Metafy and all my links down below. I will say about my Metafy, we are doing another weekly session today, Thursday. To just go over more PvE stuff, to yap about comps, emblems. I'm going to talk about a lot of the artifacts and stuff. It's a nice like yap session. If you guys have any questions about PvE comps that you've seen, anything, you can ask me, and then I can also talk about all the stuff that I found. So if you're interested, anyone in Legendary Tacticians or Tactician University gets access to it. So you can see all the links, all the info in my Metafy down below. And outside of that, I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching as always. Bye-bye.